Hold on, I'm just hearing that we're hearing some, oh my goodness, we're hearing some very, very serious and sad news. Let's go to Nigel Adderley. Nigel.
And the Football Association of Wales have just confirmed that Gary Speed, the national manager, has died.
And just 42 years old, Gary Speed has been found dead, thought to have taken his own life.
The sudden death of Gary Speed shocked the world of sport, leaving many asking why. This shocking case shows that despite seemingly living the dream, sports stars can suffer mental insecurity which can spiral into depression. No amount of fame, fortune or success can halt these mental demons.
You can have a bad game and, like mentally you'll be gone for the whole week. You can take it out on your family.
But I found it so difficult, and I used to dread the games because I knew I wasn't playing well, and I knew that people weren't so sympathetic to that.
I told him it's real now, and I can't fight again, so it's hard. It's been hard to cope with, like.
So what causes sports stars to suffer from these problems? The world of rugby is a good place to start. Hull's Brett Seymour is suffering from depression and recently tried to kill himself after one poor performance. At Sheffield Eagles Rugby League Club, one young professional is fully aware of the pressure of top-level sport.
I had to leave the previous club that I was at before. I wasn't too sure as what I could do, because it is your job at the end of the day, it's your first source of income, and I wasn't really sure what to do next, and that put quite a lot of pressure on me, being quite young as well. I was wondering where my next income was going to come from.
One recent bad game left Colton feeling very low.
I made a few mistakes in the game, and I just got home on that Sunday afternoon, and I was just distraught with myself. It is like your career, and if you have a really bad day at work, then you're in a mood when you go home, and it's exactly the same. Mentally, you'll be gone for the whole week. You can take it out on your family. And we are living our dream in the sense, but when we don't do our dream properly, and then there's other people out there who are craving to do our dream, we do feel guilty with ourselves when we don't perform as well as we can do, and that's when it hits us.
Ian Maynard is a professor of sports psychology at Sheffield Hallam University. He's worked with many sports stars and is fully aware of how top professionals can become depressed.
Invariably, there are 2 or 3 main causes, usually loss of form, perhaps injury, and then usually coming towards kind of career termination. Those are the main sources of depression with most people. Being high profile in the media, that if somebody has had a number of bad games, then rather than being something that me and you could deal with at home and talk to our partner or whatever else it is, probably 100 million people know if Wayne Rooney actually loses his way on the pitch.
Mick Rathbone is a former professional footballer who knows more than most about how nerves and crowd pressure can affect you. He played over 300 times for Blackburn, Birmingham and Preston, but his career was ruined by crippling nerves.
So you go out and you're playing in front of maybe 30,000 people, and nothing prepared you for that, and it was their expectations, and you had to play well, and you can't always play well, and a couple of bad passes and then a couple of boos from the crowd and 3 or 4 bad passes, and you felt the confidence draining out and that. And people used to say to me, "Oh, it's just a game, what's the matter with it, it's great and stuff, you got the best job in the world." And I did up to a point, but I found it so difficult, and I used to dread the games because I knew I wasn't playing well, and I knew that people weren't so sympathetic to that.
Mick became desperate not to play.
But I've got to say, on some occasions, you'd almost pray to get injured to be out the firing line. And a couple of times I was injured, and it was sort of tinged with relief that you were injured, and I say you didn't have to play. It was no fun, it was difficult. Those expectations, the pressure, how bad you felt when you let the teammates down, how completely wretched you felt.
Newspaper ratings from football reporters filled Mick with dread and caused him misery.
That was the worst part of it, because that was the written down proof that you'd played badly. Everybody could see that, it was there in black and white, wasn't it? some people went to the game and saw it, but even the people who never went to the game, they had access to your poor performance now, didn't they? They could discuss it. And I couldn't relax till I'd seen that newspaper report the next day. It had a massively detrimental effect on me, on my Sunday mornings, on my Saturday night sleep. And I can laugh and look back at it now, but I tell you what, it wasn't funny.
But it's not just pressure and nerves. Injury can also turn professional sport into a nightmare.
An injured person, often if the club don't have it right, they'll be away from their teammates, they'll be away from the competitive side of the sport for 1, 2, 3, 4 months at a time. That doesn't help the actual individual players deal with depression. It obviously reinforces the depression.
On the gritty streets of Haywood, former boxer Kieran Farrell is coming to terms with a career-ending injury. In a fight with Anthony Crolla, Kieran's brain began to bleed, and he is now lucky to be alive. The end of his competitive career has proved to be the toughest fight he has faced.
I was trying to get prepared for them telling me I'm not going to be able to box again. But when I went back to the doctors, the neurosurgeon, and he told me it was like a kick in the teeth. It was like, whoa, he's just, he's told him it's real now, and I can't fight again. So it was hard. It's been hard to cope with, like.
So did retiring early cause you to suffer from depression?
Yeah, definitely. I still have me on and off days today. I was walking up to Darnell Amateur Boxing Club where I used to fight out of when I was an amateur, and I was walking up in my sweatsuit. My brother said, "What are you doing?" And I went, "I'm going doing a session." Like he said, I said, "Are you coming like that?" And he said, "I'm here," because he said, "Making sure you don't drop dead like that." And I went like that, and I turned back round and I was crying my eyes out, and I felt depressed.
Retired boxer Spencer Oliver has been influential in helping Kieran recover from depression.
I was in my bed and I felt depressed, and he rang me in the morning and he said, "How are you feeling today?" And I'm still in my bed and all that, and he knew that I'm an active kid who's normally up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I was out running or whatever, but I was in my bed a bit depressed about everything, and he said, "Right, there's a unit up at the top of the street there," and I could see about renting it and all that. And anyway, he said to me, "Right, Kieran, you can't do what I did," because he said he had a year off doing nothing, and he just went out drinking, and he got even more depressed.
Kieran took this advice, and his gym is opening soon as he hopes to train some boxing stars of the future. Kieran managed to overcome his mental demons, and others are being helped too. The State of Mind campaign has been providing mental health guidance to rugby league players, and other sporting bodies are following suit to ensure that the next generation of professionals are given the help they need to cope with the mental pressures of top-level sport.
I think it's getting better. I know, for instance, in football that there have been a lot of initiatives recently to at least give all clubs guidelines. They've got improved awareness of what depression is.
Most professional sports stars love their job, thriving off the pressure that top-level sport brings. But for a small minority, certain factors can turn the dream job into a nightmare. Luckily, the world of sport is opening its eyes to this problem and working to ensure that mental health is just as important as physical health.